Did The Simpsons really predict the Epstein scandal? Or is it because the creator, Matt Groening, may have had insider information due to his supposed alleged visits to the Epstein Island? And based off this insider information, he cultivated scripts for particular episodes, almost telling us what was happening while it was happening. Or maybe they were just very good at making very accurate predictions about the insanity that would happen in the future of the human species. I want to take a look through some of these predictions that The Simpsons show managed to cultivate, though. Starting with one of the big ones, Donald Trump's presidency. I think they predicted this, 10 years before it happened? 8 years? They predicted his presidency. The character of Lisa becomes president, and there's a very specific wardrobe that she's wearing, very similar to Kamala Harris at her inauguration event. Another line of dialogue cited by Lisa is in the Bart to the Future episode. As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. As there were talks about, what are the deficits? Debt that the country went into as a result of Trump's administration, although it was a pandemic that had a lot to do with some of the debt that they were facing at the time. Also, I don't know if I'm allowed to even say the name of what this pandemic was, out of fear of demonetization, to be honest, but even people then are saying The Simpsons even predicted that pandemic. There was a whole episode about hornets coming out of Japan causing a worldwide flu pandemic, so who knows? There was a whole 9/11 conspiracy theory, which the Simpsons creators have debunked, saying, no, this was like a freak incident that we created, this whole 9 with 11, and then all this. This could be just conspiracy crap, right? There was the Ocean Gate scandal, where we had a submarine that imploded and killed 5 people. I think this was very recent, too. This was just a couple years back, right? They also predicted Disney acquiring 20th Century Fox. They predicted the Snowden scandal. They predicted the NSA's mass surveillance over the country, over the globe, which 6 years later would be leaked by Snowden as he whistleblew on the government. And is still called a traitor by many people within the government, too. Maybe their most absurd and comical ideas came true as a result of them having some foresight and knowledge. Maybe they were able to see the strings. Or maybe reality is just that insanely stupid that those dumb, comical, comedic parody predictions would come true. Well, some things, though, Zaffy, require some kind of inside knowledge, especially when we get to the Epstein stuff. Was this a plan all along? Was it a plan for them to seed certain things into the minds of the people using this comedy show? Or was it a warning? Was a writer trying to warn us about what Epstein was doing on those islands all along? I'm on my Epstein grind right now. You see, I've been putting a lot of content about this, and I've been fighting against some of the conspiracies that have been coming out without any evidence. I wanted to get into this one a little bit because it does interest me. Because I do think The Simpsons falls into the category of cinema, and that is my prerogative. The creator of The Simpsons is actually mentioned in the Epstein files. Alright? There's an allegation against him, but it's not as bad as you think. Virginia Giuffre, one of the biggest, most popular victims of Epstein, who I think offed herself in 2024, she allegedly took a short flight on Epstein's private jet, known as the Lolita Express. This is a jet that a lot of people went on. There's a lot of talks about underage girls on here and all this, tripping to the Virginia Islands. And Epstein allegedly instructed her to give Matt Groening, the creator of Simpsons, a foot massage. Yet that's a pretty wild and not so good thing to have on your resume now. Even though there's no accusation of anything crazy going on within this allegation, it's not optically good. It's not optically good that you were around Epstein's trafficked girls on a flight leading to his island. And I know for a fact he was on the islands, chilling with Epstein. If you're flying back and forth with Epstein on the Lolita Express, you were definitely dabbling with him on the island. Now, I'm not saying I'm no defamation here. I'm not saying he did anything. There's no evidence of that. But if you're around trafficked girls who were victims with Epstein on the Lolita Express, think of the name. We can make a guess that it wasn't a pure of heart kind of trip. It wasn't like, we're doing charity out here. No. This is what you do in your pastime with a friend. Virginia Giuffre has stated in her deposition that Groening was very polite and did not engage in any improper behavior during the short flight. And it was a very short flight. But his presence on the plane and the nature of the allegation created significant backlash, particularly as new tranches of the Epstein files were released in 2024. As you can imagine, that would be very bad optically for you. When I think of the creator of The Simpsons, I categorize him in this field called Hollyweird, where there's a bunch of producers and actors at the top level who either engage in certain acts or they allow certain acts to happen. They have intimate knowledge of it. It's a realm of zero accountability. There was a literal workplace sexual harassment lawsuit filed by a former property manager. Augustina sued the couple, alleging that they failed to act on reports of sexual harassment committed by a colleague. So they never did anything themselves, but there was things happening that they knew about and they refused to do anything about it, according to him, right? The lawsuit alleges negligence in maintaining a safe work environment on the couple's estate. So it's not hard to imagine why Epstein would be chill with this dude, because he knows this dude ain't going to tell a soul about anything that does happen, even if it does. Even if they're on the island and there are victims and this guy knows there are some underage girls there that shouldn't be there, do we have confidence that he's going to tell on Epstein? He has a whole workplace harassment put against him and his wife, saying you knew sexual misconduct was happening on a production level and you didn't do anything about it. This is kind of the thing with many people who were related and connected to Epstein, many rich people, many elites. There's a culture of negligence there. They know stuff is happening, they don't do anything about it. Think of the Weinstein-Tarantino controversy, right? Where Weinstein was doing things that he shouldn't have been, and Tarantino was chilling with him. We had Roman Polanski, who did things with like a 15 or 14-year-old girl. Tarantino defended him, right? Apparently that stuff like that was happening in Jack Nicholson's house. You know, like, there is a culture of just things happening, and everyone in the circle knows about it. And even the ones who don't actually do anything illegal, because they know about it and just sit on the sidelines and don't do anything, they're still culpable in some way. You know what I'm saying? So there's multiple episodes in The Simpsons that relate to Epstein, okay? One of them is the island of Dr. Hibbert. The Simpsons are in this island that has a lot of animal hybrids in it and creatures on this island. It's very weird. There's references to the House of Pain. So a lot of people on social media created a conspiracy theory about, oh, this is a reference to the temple room on Epstein's island, the House of Pain. Now, the moment I saw this, I was like, okay, clearly people don't realize what this is a parody of. I always saw it as a parody of the island of Dr. Moreau, which is one of the weirdest and most strange films ever, which also includes weird animal people in it and a weird, crazy schizo doctor at the head of this island. Okay? Now, you could say this movie itself is a reference to Epstein stuff and all that, but that Simpsons episode I don't believe was related to Epstein in that way. But there was another episode called The Computer Wore Men's Shoes that was created 1 year after Virginia Giuffre allegedly met the creator of The Simpsons on that plane, where she was told to give him a foot massage. And in this, Homer Simpson is writing a gossip blog about events, and he runs out of ideas. So he starts talking about this weird island where there's all these elites and people who are powerful. And these are false reports, but it turns out he's actually correct, because he's kidnapped by these crazy creeps and placed on this island. And they take him here to put him in his place, and he eventually escapes after them telling him nobody leaves this island. This episode is clearly a parody of a film called The Village, about this dude that was taken to this isolated community filled with weird stuff happening, alright? You could say this is kind of Epstein-esque itself, but this episode itself is meant to be a parody of this. You can see it in the jackets that they're wearing, right? It's clearly a reference to that film. But that ominous line at the end of the episode saying, "See you on the island." Yes, the island. People see this as, oh man, the writer's giving a hidden message here. He's saying there is that island with Epstein that he's been on many, many times, that he's probably seen a lot of stuff go down, if we're being honest. Then there's the whole Stephen Hawking stuff. Yeah, Stephen Hawking was mentioned in the Epstein files like 250 times. He's been on the island multiple times, all right? He's been around the block. He's been around that Epstein block many, many times. He's a veteran of the game. I'm not saying he did anything. It's all alleged. He has his own episode where he's trying to help Lisa govern this community of high IQ people. They're trying to create a high IQ society. He looks very perverted in this episode. And he takes Lisa in his wheelchair and they fan up and look over the city. And the idea of this little girl on Stephen Hawking's lap, the visual of it, especially with this Epstein stuff coming out, a lot of people are saying, oh my lord, the Simpsons writers were telling us about Stephen Hawking all along. Now, none of this looks good. If you're Stephen Hawking and you're looking at the Epstein files, because Stephen Hawking actually did this episode. He did the line readings for this. Okay? He approved all this. But if you're Stephen Hawking now, still alive, and looking back at this with the Epstein tranche of files that came out, you're probably going to be like, oh shit. This doesn't look good for me at all. But I do feel like this conspiracy theory, part of it, made to look non-credible because of the fact that he did the lines and had no issue with it. The only rule he had is don't depict me as being drunk. Don't depict me as drinking. For some reason, that was his one rule. Now, does Stephen Hawking get a bit crazy when he's drunk and maybe he's insecure about people knowing that? Does he do some weird stuff when he's on that alcohol? Who knows? Who knows why? I'm just speculating here, but that was the only issue he had. Everything else, the fact that he says what he says in this episode, the fact that he looks perverted like he does, Stephen Hawking was cool with it all. They didn't really show him doing anything crazy. That's the thing. They don't show him crazily doing stuff to girls on an island. No. He does put Lisa on his lap and take her up for a ride. But Stephen Hawking was fine with that. Now, I'm not saying that's an indication of anything, because I think a lot of these people who were doing weird stuff with Epstein, they're completely okay with having fun with the public. And we're going to get to what I mean. But there's also the fact that this episode was, in fact, a 1999 episode. And I believe Stephen Hawking's visit to Epstein's Island started in 2006. So you could say, how would the Simpsons writers know about Stephen Hawking to do the subliminal message episode if he didn't go to the island until like 7 years later? You could say that maybe Stephen Hawking was secretly there and visiting Epstein and chilling with him and Matt Groening prior to this. Or maybe Epstein just talked about how he knew about Stephen Hawking and knew, hey, Matt, let me tell you something about that boy Hawking. He's a freak. He's a freak. And I know firsthand. Let's look at the reason. Because there's the episode's about this high IQ society, the scientific society that Stephen Hawking wanted to start. Hawking visited Epstein's private islands, Little St. James Island, in 2006 alongside 20 other prominent scientists. The visit was part of an academic conference on quantum cosmology titled The Energy of Empty Space That Isn't Zero, which was funded by Epstein. Now, this is definitely not the only time Hawking visited the island. He's visited for social things as well. And who knows if he visited the island or not before this? Who knows? A 2015 email to Jeffrey Epstein. So here's where the allegations start, though. A 2015 email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell revealed that Epstein was concerned about an allegation made by Virginia Giuffre, that same victim. Epstein suggested offering a financial reward to anyone who could prove her allegations are false. What was her allegation? Well, she mentioned a claim that Hawking's participated in underage... I can't say it because I'll get demonetized, but basically a thing involving a bunch of kids in the Virgin Islands, all right? There are pictures, and I had to blank them out more because YouTube will demonetize anything at this point. There are pictures with him and girls in bikinis. Now, he has stated that these are his assistants and long-term carers from UK, and the photo was taken at a Ritz-Carlton hotel in St. Thomas during the 2006 Science Symposium. Okay, there's not much I can say about that. FBI documents contained unverified tip that Hawking and Epstein visited a certain club or bathhouse together in 2011 with several Russian men. No idea if this is real. Anonymous tip. You can never say it's not corroborated, but there's that. And he definitely traveled there a lot. You could see there's multiple pictures of him there. So you could ask yourself, was Matt Groening, the creator of Simpsons, trying to warn us all along? That's what a lot of people are saying. There are two possibilities. Either he was just documenting things subconsciously that he knew about from Epstein and he saw, or he was trying to warn us. I don't buy any of this warn us crap. And I hate it when people say stuff like this because I know you're taking accountability away from these people. These people knew very well what was happening. Matt Groening knew at least a couple things that were weird were happening. He knew some sus stuff was happening. I'm not accusing him of doing anything, but it's highly probably he knew some sus stuff was going on, but he didn't care. They don't care. Again, this is a little club of elites with no accountability. That's what happens. It's just stuff that goes on. It's just as annoying to me as the people who say, oh, well, Trump was an operative going undercover into Epstein's ring and trying to spy on him and get information to the FBI. This is proven verifiably false. Oh, but Trump called the FBI and whistleblew, and he didn't whistleblow. That's not what whistleblow means. Epstein was already under investigation, and Trump, to save his reputation and Mar-a-Lago's reputation, because there's a paper trail leading to Mar-a-Lago and girls getting recruited there by Epstein, Trump saved his own ass. And he's in flight logs visiting Epstein after. He said nothing but good things about Epstein. He doesn't even go out of his way to ridicule Epstein. He said nothing but good things about Ghislaine Maxwell as well. Gave her a cushy little prison. This guy's an operative to you? Actively covering up the Epstein files with his White House administration, Pam Bondi? Are you stupid? We all know these people don't care about anything they did and anything they saw. It's a little club of people trying to have fun. That's the key theme here. There is no accountability, just fun. If Matt Groening really was hinting at messages about what happened on the Epstein Islands, if he really was doing all these as a prediction, as a real thing, it was like a fun thing. Weirdos like this like little pieces of their activities to be known by the public. It's almost like a flex to them. They get off on it. Now some could say, okay, maybe they were planting seeds into the mind of the public with popular entertainment. There is reason to believe, because we know this from the Epstein files, that planting seeds into the minds of the public as a psyop is a thing that Epstein really wanted to do. You know, he talked to the Activision CEO. He talked to this dude about how video games can reach and indoctrinate children faster than traditional education. He alluded to things like, oh, we can put more suggestive content in here. You know, pluck it into these video games. In an email, he said, I think Pablos Holman, I believe this is the dude who's in charge of the video game company or whatever. I'm all for indoctrinating kids into an economy. You gotta love how this example for real world rewards is virtual items in games. I believe this happened around the time that microtransactions were happening in the Call of Duty video games. So there is that stuff. There is the whole crypto thing, the controversy with crypto being funded by guys like Epstein. How there's talk about, currently Bitcoin is run by 4 developers. We need to take control of these developers so we can move this thing around like our pawn. And with the recent unclassified CIA documents showing something called Operation Artichoke, which talks about literally using chemicals or drugs to put in a food supply of a population. Who knows what population? Could be ours, who knows. But put in the country's population food, water, beer, liquor, cigarettes. This kind of drug can also be used in stuff like standard medical treatments such as vaccination shots, any of that stuff. Who knows why they were trying to do this? A lot of people would say, they were trying to do this to leave a population suppressed, sedated, depressed, all this kind of stuff. So there's clearly, and this is an idea that was actually brought up in a classified CIA document. And we know that Epstein's involved with the CIA. Various department heads were talking to him in the Epstein files. We know that Epstein was all about psyops from the top down. Planting seeds is part of his game. I would be perfectly okay with saying the show definitely can hint at it. Maybe he wasn't trying to make predictions, and maybe he wasn't trying to fully make a message about Epstein, but maybe he was influenced by that. And I definitely think there were attempts to normalize this stuff as a comedy, as a joke. There's definitely an argument to be made that could be possible. Or maybe Epstein gave him some ideas about what's happening in the real world and Matt Groening decided to warn us about it. Or Matt Groening really didn't care. He just got some influence and saw it as a means of curating more entertainment for us. And all these guys don't care about anything that's really happening. They're not trying to warn us. They're not trying to do anything deeper. They just are having fun with us. I can't allege anything because there's no defamation here. I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm not accusing anything of anything. I'm just saying what I'm saying. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one coke line at a time.